Welcome back to the deep dive. We're here to cut through the noise, look at the research, and give you what you really need to know.
That's right, no jargon, just the core insights.
And today we're tackling something absolutely fundamental. It's like the invisible foundation for learning, for performance, really for everything.
We're talking about nutrition and sleep. These two pillars often get sacrificed first, especially by students, but honestly, by a lot of high achievers too.
hmm And that sacrifice, that's kind of the heart of our deep dive today, isn't it? We hear so much about study techniques, exams, tech in the classroom.
Right, but the research we've looked at really pulls the focus back to the basics, the physiological needs, the actual fuel and the repair time the brain and body need just to function, let alone excel.
So our mission today is pretty clear. We need to define this problem, this widespread neglect of food and rest among students. We'll unpack the reasons why it happens, which are surprisingly complex.
Definitely more than just kids being kids.
Exactly. Then we'll talk about how you can spot the signs, the symptoms, and most importantly, we're going to lay out a practical four-part strategy, something you can actually use to build better health resilience.
And the key takeaway right from the start, the absolute core insight from all this research is simple but powerful. Mental sharpness, physical energy, they don't just come from grinding harder or pulling all-nighters.
Right.
They rely fundamentally on self-care, on fueling yourself properly and getting enough rest. It's the prerequisite. If you're running on empty, studying is just, well, it's incredibly inefficient. You're building on shaky ground.
Building on sand. I like that. Okay, let's start by properly defining this problem because it feels like more than just individual choices. It's almost an accepted trade-off, isn't it?
It really is. The source material calls it a sacrifice. Students in that intense drive for good grades or maybe for sports or even just keeping up socially, they compromise. Nutrition and sleep become the flexible items in the budget. Exactly.
Yeah.
And we need to be clear about what that looks like. Let's break down nutritional neglect first. It's not just, grabbing fast food once in a while.
Okay.
It's a pattern. Three things, really. One, irregular meals. Skipping breakfast is a classic example. Or maybe eating very little all day and then a huge meal late at night. Two, way too much processed food. Stuff that's packed with empty calories, sugar, unhealthy fats. You get that quick energy spike, sure, but then a crash. There's no sustained fuel.
Right. No real nourishment.
And that's the third point, and it's critical. A lack of essential nutrients. The vitamins, the minerals, the things your brain actually needs for development, for energy, for regulating hormones. They're missing the actual building blocks.
So it's about the timing and the quality of the food, not just whether they're eating enough calories overall.
Precisely. And then you have the other pillar, inadequate sleep. Again, it's not just about the number of hours, though that's part of it.
Okay, so what's the standard definition? Less than 7 or 8 hours.
Yeah, for adolescents and young adults, the recommendation is consistently 7 to 8 hours. Sleeping less than that regularly is inadequate, quantity-wise.
But you said it's also about quality.
Hugely important. Quality is key. You could be in bed for 8 hours, but if your sleep is constantly broken, maybe by phone notifications, maybe by stress, or if you're not getting enough deep sleep, that restorative stage.
The non-REM sleep.
Exactly, NREM, especially the deep stages. That's when your body does major repairs. And crucially for students, it's when the brain consolidates memories, locks in what you learned.
Wow. So studying hard and then skimping on quality sleep, you're basically undoing some of that work.
You're significantly reducing the return on investment for that study time. It's a physiological fact.
Okay. So when you combine these two things, poor nutrition and poor sleep, what's the specific danger? Especially for teenagers whose brains are still developing.
Oh, it's particularly dangerous then. Adolescence is this critical window for brain development. Think of it like major construction happening. The brain is pruning connections, strengthening others, building pathways for adult thinking.
Right.
Nutrition provides the raw materials for that construction. Sleep is the time the crews actually do the work and clean up. If you shortchange both,
You're directly messing with that construction project.
you are directly impairing cognitive function development. You're making it harder for them to regulate emotions. And you're draining their physical stamina. It's like trying to build a skyscraper with cheap materials and no time for the concrete to set.
That's a powerful image. And what are the immediate signs? If a student is stuck in this pattern, what decline do we see right away?
It cascades pretty fast. Obvious stuff like fatigue, yawning in class. But look closer. It's poor concentration. They just can't stay focused.
Zoning out.
Exactly. Difficulty following instructions. Then there's irritability, mood swings. Their emotional fuse gets really short. because the brain systems that manage emotions are literally underfueled and unrested.
Okay.
Weakened immunity is another big one. They get sick more often, miss school, fall further behind, which adds more stress. It's a vicious cycle.
And the bottom line.
A measurable drop in performance. Academic grades slip. Athletic ability declines. It's a completely self-inflicted handicap, but often driven by external pressures they feel they can't control.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Let's dig into those pressures. We've established this neglect is happening, it's harmful. But why? You said it's not just poor choices.
Not at all. The research points to some really deep-seated factors. Systemic things, tech influences, even cultural norms.
Let's start with the most obvious one, academic and lifestyle pressures. It feels like students are just squeezed for time.
That's the core issue here, time compression. Academic schedules are brutal these days. Late night studying, maybe early morning practice, tuition classes after school, extracurriculars. There just aren't enough hours. So what gives? Sleep is usually the first thing to go. Feel like the only flexible part of the schedule.
Can you paint a picture of that? A typical day?
Sure. Think about a high-achieving student. School finishes mid-afternoon, straight to sports or music practice till, say, 5:30, maybe grab a quick bite. Then a tutoring session from 6:30 to 8:30. Get home, late dinner, then homework starts.
Which could easily go past midnight.
Easily. Until 1:00 a.m., maybe later. And if they have to be up at 6 a.m. for school, well, you do the math. They're chronically sleep-deprived. Sleep becomes a luxury item.
And when time is that tight, meals get sacrificed too. You mentioned skipping breakfast earlier.
It's a classic casualty of the morning rush. Or maybe right before a big exam, thinking those extra 15 minutes are better spent cramming than eating.
But that's a bad trade-off,
But
physiologically.
a terrible trade-off. The brain needs fuel after fasting all night. Without it, you're running on stress hormones like cortisol. You get unstable energy, poor focus, and then usually a big energy crash mid-morning.
This constant juggling act creates really irregular routines, doesn't it?
Completely. You've got school demands, digital life buzzing, 204/7, social pressures. There's no consistency. Mealtime shift, sleep schedules are all over the place.
And our bodies don't like that.
Our bodies hate that. Our internal clocks, our circadian rhythms, they thrive on regularity. That's how hormones stay balanced, digestion works properly, sleep quality is maintained. Constant irregularity puts the body in a state of chronic stress, always playing catch-up.
And when the body is screaming for energy, what do students reach for?
The quick fix, caffeine dependence, coffee, energy drinks, sometimes huge amounts.
Trying to paper over the cracks.
Exactly. They're using stimulants to force performance out of a system that's fundamentally exhausted and undernourished. It's trying to cheat biology.
But it backfires, right?
Massively. You get a temporary boost, sure.
Yeah.
But the crash afterward is often worse. Plus, all that caffeine, especially later in the day, wrecks your sleep quality, making the original problem even deeper. It's a classic exhaustion loop.
Okay, so academic pressure is a huge driver. But you mentioned technology. How does that play into this? It feels like it turbocharges the whole problem.
It really does, especially with sleep. The main culprit is excessive screen exposure before bedtime. And it's biological.
The blue light issue.
That's the one. The blue wavelengths from phones, tablets, laptops. They basically trick your brain into thinking it's still daytime.
How does that work?
It signals the brain's master clock. It's called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN, to hold back on producing melatonin.
Melatonin being the sleep hormone.
Right, the hormone that tells your body, hey, it's time to wind down and sleep. If melatonin is suppressed, you simply don't feel sleepy, even if you're tired and know you should go to bed.
So even if you put the phone away, the damage is done from that hour you spent scrolling.
Precisely. The chemistry is already disrupted. And it's not just the light. The content matters too. Scrolling through social media, playing intense games, even watching stressful news. It causes mental overstimulation.
Your brain stays active.
Your brain is firing on all cylinders, processing information, getting little dopamine hits from likes or messages. It's keeping you in a state of high alert. Your fight or flight system stays engaged when you need your rest and digest system to take over. Quality sleep becomes impossible.
And technology impacts the nutrition side too, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Think about food delivery apps. They've made junk food, high-calorie, low-nutrient stuff incredibly easy to get anytime.
Just a few taps on your phone.
Exactly. It encourages impulse buys. It's 10 p.m., you're stressed from studying, and ordering a pizza or wings is frictionless. It requires much less effort than, say, making a healthy snack or waiting for a proper meal. That convenience fundamentally changes eating patterns.
Okay, moving beyond tech, what about more general dietary and environmental factors? You mentioned a preference for fast food.
Yeah, that's common. It's often cheaper, faster, and let's be honest, engineered to taste good. But it's often linked to a bigger issue: limited awareness of balanced diet requirements.
Meaning students just don't know what healthy eating really means.
Often, yeah. They might know vegetables are good, sugar is bad in a vague sense, but the specifics. Portion sizes, the difference between good fats and bad fats, why protein matters for focus. They often lack that practical knowledge. They're navigating without a map.
And their friends, their peers, must influence this quite a bit. Social dynamics.
Hugely. Peer pressure can push things in unhealthy directions. You might see trends towards really restrictive diets, maybe driven by body image issues amplified by social media,
Or the opposite.
or the opposite. Group settings encouraging unhealthy overeating, late-night study sessions fueled by pizza and soda, celebratory junk food binges. Eating becomes less about nutrition and more about social bonding or emotional coping.
And sometimes the environment itself fails them. Institutional gaps.
Yes. If the school doesn't actively promote or enable healthy choices, it makes it harder for students. Maybe there aren't enough health education programs. Or, critically, the school canteen might mostly offer cheap, processed, unhealthy foods because it's profitable.
So the place they spend most of their day is actually undermining healthy habits.
It can, yeah. It sends a conflicting message.
Okay, let's zoom out even further. What about parental and societal influences? These feel like deeper currents pushing students in this direction.
They are absolutely critical. Let's start with parental supervision, or often the lack of it. Parents today are incredibly busy themselves. Work pressures, long commutes,
Right.
which means they might not be home or available to supervise meals as much, or to enforce consistent bedtimes. It's often not intentional neglect, but the result is the student is left making key health decisions without maybe the maturity or knowledge to choose well.
So responsibility shifts to the student by default.
Often, yes. Then you have powerful cultural tendencies. Think about societal messages around body image, the constant pressure to be thin, or for boys, maybe to be bulky and muscular,
Driven by media, social media.
everywhere. And these ideals can drive really unhealthy behaviors: extreme dieting, over-exercising, using supplements without understanding them. It's completely disconnected from actual health needs.
And then there's this big one, this underlying belief about work and rest. You called it the productivity trap.
Yes, this is huge. It's this pervasive societal idea that rest, especially sleep, is somehow the opposite of being productive. It's seen as laziness or wasted time.
The hustle culture idea, sleep when you're dead.
Exactly, that toxic narrative. When students hear that or see adults around them constantly prioritizing work over rest, they internalize it. They start to believe that taking time to sleep properly or eat well is actually weak, or that it means they're not trying hard enough academically.
So making the healthy choice actually feels like failing.
It can feel like a handicap, yeah. Like they're falling behind their peers who are pulling the all-nighters. This mindset is perhaps the most damaging root cause because it twists self-care into something negative.
That's a really tough one to counter. If a student knows sleep is good, but everyone around them seems to be succeeding by not sleeping, how do you break that immediate pressure?
It's about changing the definition of success and efficiency. We need to hammer home the scientific reality. The all-nighter isn't more productive. The student who sleeps 8 hours retains information better, thinks more clearly, and performs better long-term.
So shift the focus from hours logged to quality of output.
Precisely. We have to relentlessly promote the idea that rest isn't downtime. It's preparation time. Essential preparation for peak performance. It's part of the work, not separate from it.
Okay, that makes sense. We've gone deep into the why.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's switch gears. How do we spot this? If you're a parent, a teacher, or even a student listening, what are the concrete signs, the symptoms and behavioral indicators?
Right. We need to look past just, oh, they seem tired. The signs are specific if you know what to look for. Let's start with energy and focus.
Okay.
It's persistent tiredness, yes. The kind that doesn't just vanish after sleeping in on Saturday, constant yawning, obviously. But also, look for a real inability to focus in class.
Like drifting off. Difficulty tracking.
Exactly. Trouble following complex ideas, maybe taking lots of notes, but not really absorbing the information. That mental fog is a key indicator.
And the emotional markers. You mentioned irritability earlier.
Very noticeable. Increased irritability, yeah. Snapping easily, Big mood swings, maybe you're really down one moment, agitated the next. A general lack of motivation, even for stuff they used to enjoy. And often heightened anxiety.
Their ability to cope just lowers.
Their self-regulation tanks, we'll touch on the science behind that soon.
What about physical manifestations? Things you can actually see or feel.
These often get brushed off. Frequent headaches are common, especially tension headaches. Digestive issues too, feeling nauseous, upset stomach, irregular bowel habits. These can absolutely be signs of the body's stress response to poor diet and sleep.
And visible signs.
Dark circles under the eyes, sure, sometimes dull skin, but also a noticeable drop in physical stamina. Activities that used to be easy, climbing stairs, playing sports, suddenly feel much harder.
And we should look directly at their eating patterns, right?
Absolutely. Inconsistency is the key word. Skipping breakfast is a huge red flag. Relying on sugary snacks or drinks mid-morning to get through. And then often overeating late at night. That can be catch-up calories from earlier, or it can be stress eating, using food for comfort when they should be winding down.
And all of this leads to the bottom line: performance and dependency.
That's the outcome. You see a clear decline in grades or sports performance. They just can't sustain the effort. And alongside that, you often see that dependency we talked about, needing sugar or caffeine just to function, to get that temporary energy boost.
Okay, so those are the signs. Now, you mentioned the science. These symptoms aren't random. They link back to established research and frameworks, right?
Exactly. And this is where it gets really powerful, because the science backs up why these things are so fundamental. It's not just nice to have, it's essential biology.
So what does the research say?
Well, for instance, the World Health Organization back in 2021 was very clear. They stated that balanced nutrition and getting about 8 hours of sleep daily are essential, non-negotiable for adolescent cognitive and physical development. They frame it as basic infrastructure for growth.
Not just wellness advice, but a developmental necessity.
Precisely. And then you have studies like one from the Harvard School of Public Health in 2020.
What did that find?
It showed a direct link. Students who had regular sleep schedules and ate balanced diets demonstrated significantly better memory retention and overall academic efficiency.
So sleeping well and eating well literally makes studying more effective.
Scientifically, yes. Your brain simply works better. It needs that time and those resources to encode information properly and recall it when needed.
How does this connect to classic psychological theories, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Maslow's a perfect illustration here. His pyramid shows physiological needs, food, water, sleep, as the absolute base, the foundation.
Right. You can't build higher without that base.
Exactly. If a student is hungry or exhausted, all their mental energy is subconsciously focused on fixing that basic deficit. They're stuck on the ground floor. They can't effectively access higher levels like safety, belonging, esteem, or the peak self-actualization.
Which for a student means learning, creativity, problem solving.
All the higher order thinking skills. You simply cannot focus on calculus if your body is screaming for sleep or energy. You're fundamentally compromised at the base level.
And this applies to how the brain processes information too, thinking about Piaget's cognitive development theory.
While Piaget focused on developmental stages, the core principle holds. The brain's ability to function optimally depends on biological well-being. Its capacity to handle new information, think complexly, it's all reduced when the body is stressed or deprived.
So biological readiness is key for learning.
It's paramount. Adequate rest and nutrition are needed for the neurological system to even process the world effectively, let alone learn complex new things.
What about the emotional side? We mentioned irritability and mood swings. How does Goleman's emotional intelligence model fit in?
Goleman's model emphasizes self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy. Key emotional skills. The research shows that nutrition and sleep are the fuel for these skills.
How so?
When you're sleep deprived, the prefrontal cortex, the brain's executive control center, responsible for impulse control, decision-making, emotional regulation, doesn't function properly. It's like it's offline.
So you lose that ability to manage reactions.
Your ability to regulate emotions plummets, you become more reactive, less able to manage stress, less empathetic. Your emotional intelligence literally degrades when your basic physiological needs aren't met.
And there's a clear threshold for sleep. The American Academy of Sleep Medicine study from 2022.
Yes, and it's quite stark. They found that adolescents getting less than 7 hours of sleep per night, which is incredibly common, by the way, consistently show higher stress levels, lower motivation, and measurably impaired decision-making skills.
So 7 hours is kind of a critical line.
It seems to be a threshold where things really start to decline neurologically. It's not just about feeling tired. It's about cognitive and emotional competence starting to erode. That finding alone should make sleep a top priority.
Absolutely. Okay, we've covered the why, how to spot it, and the science behind it. Now let's talk about the consequences, the impact. What happens when this neglect continues long term? You mentioned 5 areas of decline.
Right. This is where we connect the dots to see the full picture of the damage. It's not just about getting a bad grade on one test.
Let's start with the academic impact.
It's severe. We see reduced concentration span, definitely, poorer memory recalls, difficulty retrieving information they've actually learned, and a decline in analytical capacity, the ability to think critically, solve complex problems, synthesize information.
The higher level thinking skills suffer most.
Yes. And this leads to that downward spiral we talked about. Poorer performance increases stress, especially around exams. More stress makes sleep worse. Worse sleep makes performance worse.
A vicious cycle, because the brain is just less efficient.
Exactly. It's like trying to run complex software on an old, slow computer with not enough power. Every task takes more effort and yields poorer results.
Now, the physical impact. You mentioned some serious long-term health risks.
Yes, this is really alarming. Chronic poor eating habits and lack of sleep are major contributors to long-term health problems. There's a strong link to obesity, partly because sleep loss messes with hormones that regulate appetite, like ghrelin and leptin.
Okay.
Immune function is weakened chronically. Sleep is vital for producing and regulating immune cells. So, more infections, more illness over time.
And you mentioned hormonal imbalances earlier. Can you expand on the stress connection?
Sure. Chronic sleep deprivation keeps cortisol levels, the main stress hormone, abnormally high. Sustained high cortisol is damaging. It can impair memory formation,
Hmm?
even harm the hippocampus, which is crucial for memory.
Wow.
It also contributes to insulin resistance, setting the stage for type 2 diabetes later in life. And for adolescents specifically, most growth hormone is released during deep sleep.
So skimping on sleep during those key growth years.
Can literally impact their physical growth. Slower growth rates potentially reduce bone density. The body's fundamental repair and growth processes are compromised.
That's sobering. Beyond the physical, what about the emotional and psychological toll long term?
It's immense. Students can become chronically anxious, emotionally volatile. Their resilience just gets worn down.
Meaning they can't handle stress as well.
Exactly. Small setbacks feel like major crises. They struggle to cope with normal academic pressures, social conflicts, personal challenges. This constant background hum of anxiety is exhausting and can contribute to developing clinical anxiety or depression. Their whole perspective gets skewed.
And this must spill over into the relationships, the social impact.
Definitely. When you're constantly tired and irritable, you're just not much fun to be around. Students might withdraw from friends, from group projects, not out of malice, but just because they lack the energy for social interaction.
Which affects friendships, teamwork.
And limits important social development. Teamwork skills, navigating peer relationships, these are crucial life skills they're missing out on developing properly because they're too drained.
Finally, the really long view. Long-term predisposition, these aren't just temporary issues.
No, and this is critical. The habits formed during adolescence relying on junk food, accepting chronic sleep loss as normal, they often stick. And they significantly increase the risk for serious health problems in adulthood.
Like what specifically?
Increased risk of type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, hypertension, clinical depression, anxiety disorders, and even career burnout later on. It's like they're accumulating health debt during their school years that comes due later in life.
So the way they manage stress and energy now sets a pattern.
It really does. Trading short-term perceived gains, like cramming for an exam for potentially decades of poorer health outcomes, it's a terrible bargain when you look at it that way.
Okay, that lays out the stakes very clearly. It's serious. But the good news, as you said, is that the research also offers very practical solutions. Let's shift gears completely now, from diagnosis to prescription. How do we fix this?
Yes, and the solutions need to happen on multiple levels. It's not just on the student. We need strategies for the individual, for schools, for parents, and even at the policy level.
All right, let's start with the student. What's in their personal toolkit?
We need simple, actionable strategies. One great tool highlighted in the research is the 3-2-1 rule. It's designed to be easy to remember and follow.
Okay, what is it?
Eat 3 balanced meals a day, have 2 healthy snacks, and stick to 1 consistent sleep schedule.
3, 2, 1. Simple.
If a student can nail that, honestly, they've addressed a huge chunk of the problem.
Let's break that down. The meals you emphasized breakfast earlier, the breakfast mandate. What makes a good breakfast for sustained energy?
Rule 1, never skip it, period.
Yeah.
Rule 2, Focus on protein and fiber. Things like eggs, Greek yogurt, oatmeal with nuts, whole wheat toast with avocado or nut butter.
Why protein and fiber specifically?
They slow down the absorption of sugar into the bloodstream. Unlike a sugary cereal, which causes a quick spike and then a crash, protein and fiber provide steady, sustained energy release. This keeps blood sugar stable and focus sharp through the morning.
Avoids that mid-morning slump. Okay, what about tackling the technology issue? Digital discipline. That screen curfew sounds crucial.
Absolutely crucial. The recommendation is clear. Turn off all screens, phones, tablets, computers, TVs, at least 30 to 45 minutes before your planned bedtime.
Why that specific time frame?
That gives your brain enough time to start producing melatonin naturally, overcoming the suppression caused by the blue light. It's a necessary buffer period for your body's sleep signals to kick in.
And what should they do in that screen-free time?
Replace with something calming. Read a physical book, not on a screen. Gentle stretching, listening to quiet music, maybe meditation or deep breathing. Anything that signals wind down to your brain. The bedroom needs to become a sleep sanctuary, not an entertainment hub.
Okay. What other simple routine enhancers can students add?
Hydration is a big one. Hydration discipline. Aiming for 8 to 10 glasses of water a day. Even mild dehydration tanks your concentration and can cause headaches. Easy fix, big impact. And meal planning. Taking just a little time, maybe on the weekend, to think about meals and snacks for the week ahead. Having healthy options ready makes you less likely to grab junk food when you're tired or stressed.
Takes the decision fatigue out of it.
Exactly. And if you hit that afternoon slump during studying,
What's the best approach? Not another coffee.
definitely not.
Uh-huh.
Try power nap. But there are rules. Keep it short. 10 to 15 minutes is ideal.
Why so short?
If you nap much longer than 20 minutes, you risk falling into deep sleep. Waking up from that causes sleep inertia, that awful groggy feeling that makes you feel worse. A short nap refreshes focus without the grogginess.
Got it. And one more for the student toolkit. Mindful eating. What does that mean in practice?
It just means paying attention when you eat. Don't eat while scrolling your phone, watching TV, or studying. Sit down, focus on your food.
How does that help?
When you're mindful, your brain actually registers that you're eating and gets the satiety signals correctly. It improves digestion, too. It helps prevent mindless overeating, especially stress eating.
The sources also mention a sample daily wellness planner. Is scheduling this stuff helpful?
Immensely helpful. It makes it real. Instead of just intending to eat breakfast, you schedule 6:30 a.m. healthy breakfast. Instead of hoping to wind down, it's 9:30 p.m. Start sleep routine stretching. No screens.
It gives structure and priority.
It treats your well-being with the same seriousness you give to your class schedule or homework deadlines. It makes it non-negotiable.
Okay, great tools for the student. But you said schools need to step up too. What are the key school-based strategies?
Schools play a huge role in shaping the environment. First, curriculum integration. Nutrition and sleep science shouldn't be an occasional assembly topic.
It needs to be part of the regular curriculum.
Yes, embedded in health and wellness classes. Taught properly, maybe even graded. Consistent education is key.
And the school environment itself needs to support this, like the canteen.
Absolutely. A strong canteen policy. Schools need to mandate healthy options and seriously restrict or even ban the sale of junk food and sugary drinks on campus.
If the school is selling the problem, it's hard to preach the solution.
Exactly. They need to make the healthy choice the easy choice, or at least readily available.
What about specific education on rest?
Rest education is vital. Workshops that explain the science of sleep, what happens in your brain during REM sleep, how sleep regulates hormones. When students understand the why, they're much more motivated to prioritize it.
Makes sense. And schools also control schedules. Schedule balance.
This is critical.
Mm.
School leaders need to look hard at their schedules. Are they scheduling mandatory events late in the evening? Is the homework load consistently forcing students into late nights?
They need to avoid actively preventing students from getting enough sleep.
Yes. The institution's demands shouldn't directly contradict the biological needs for learning. That's self-defeating.
All right, moving to the home front. What are the parental and home strategies? Parents play a big role here.
A massive role. It starts with modeling and monitoring. Parents need to model healthy habits themselves. If parents are grabbing quick dinners, working late on screens in bed, staying up late.
They're sending a message that that's normal or even required.
Exactly. Kids absorb that. Parents modeling consistent meal times and sleep routines sets the standard. And they need to monitor sleep patterns, gently ensuring their kids, especially teens, are actually getting those 7-8 hours.
What about meals at home?
Encouraging shared family meals whenever possible is powerful. It ensures at least one balanced meal is likely happening, provides routine, and offers valuable connection time, which can reduce stress.
Good point. Reduces the chance of kids just grabbing snacks on their own.
Right. And parents need to be mindful about how they use food psychologically.
Yeah.
Specifically, avoid rewarding with junk food.
Like, good grades, let's get pizza.
Yeah, or using candy as a reward. It creates an unhealthy emotional connection to those foods. Find other ways to reward praise, experiences, healthy treats like fruit-based desserts. Break that junk food reward cycle.
And the big one for sleep hygiene at home, screen-free bedrooms.
This is often the toughest battle, but it's probably the single most effective measure. Parents really need to enforce a rule. Devices charge outside the bedroom overnight. Phones, tablets, laptops out.
Removes the temptation entirely.
It removes the biggest obstacle to quality sleep for most teens. The bedroom needs to be a dedicated rest zone.
Okay, finally, let's look at the bigger picture. Institutional and policy recommendations. What needs to happen systemically?
We need better professional support integrated into the system. Schools should offer nutrition counseling, perhaps through regular health checkups or dedicated sessions. Personalized advice is more effective than generic pamphlets.
And maybe bring in outside experts.
Yes, collaborate with dietitians. Our registered dietitians run interactive workshops. They bring credibility and can teach practical skills, reading food labels, budgeting for healthy food, simple meal prep.
We also need to tackle that cultural issue, the productivity trap.
Absolutely. Institutions, schools, workplaces, society at large need to actively promote a rest culture. This means leadership explicitly stating that rest is productive. Celebrating achievements that come from balanced lifestyles, not just burnout.
Shifting the narrative from hustle to sustainable performance.
Exactly. Making it clear that rest is part of the strategy for success, not a sign of weakness.
And to ensure these changes stick.
Regulatory compliance. School policies around canteen food, scheduling, and health education need to align with established national guidelines, like the CBSE Health and Wellness Framework mentioned in our sources.
So it's not optional, it's mandated.
It becomes a standard requirement, ensuring consistency and protecting student well-being as a priority across the board.
Okay, that's a really comprehensive set of solutions across all levels. Fantastic. As we wrap up, could you synthesize the core message from all this research?
I think the clearest takeaway is this. Nutrition and sleep aren't just add-ons for students. They are the absolute bedrock of learning and performance. When a student is properly fueled and genuinely rested, their brain simply works better. They think more clearly, they learn more efficiently because memory consolidation is optimal, and they handle stress with far more resilience.
So self-care isn't selfish, it's strategic.
It's the most strategic thing you can do for academic and long-term success. It builds the foundation not just for school, but for a balanced, productive, and honestly, a more fulfilling life overall.
It forces us parents, educators, students to confront that paradox. True sharpness and energy come not from pushing harder into exhaustion, but from investing consistently in refueling and recharging.
Exactly. And I'd really encourage listeners to pause and think about those reflection prompts from the research. Ask yourself honestly, how do I actually feel when I skip meals or lose sleep? Notice the concrete effects, the headache, the brain fog, the short temper.
And then flip it. What changes do I notice in my mood, my focus, after a really good night's sleep? Connect with the positive payoff. And then the crucial step. What's one small thing, just one I can improve starting today?
Is it making sure you eat breakfast tomorrow? Is it setting that phone alarm for 30 minutes before bed tonight to start winding down?
Pick one thing. The research offered that affirmation. My body deserves nourishment and rest.
It's a powerful reminder.
So we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. If you truly accept that premise that your body deserves nourishment and rest, and if you redefine effort, not just as hours spent working, but as a combination of focused work and strategic rest, how does that fundamentally change your approach to achieving whatever excellence means to you, starting right now?
Something to think about.
Thank you for diving deep with us.